Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of The Daily. It's Wednesday, October 19th, here with Greg Lawless. I'm Nick Fershaw. Greg, we're going to look at some of the biggest headlines in MLS, and we'll start with a very big game on Wednesday that involves the playoff implications for both DC United and the Portland Timbers. They're going to go at it at 8 p.m. Eastern down at RFK Stadium. You can catch that game on Matchday Live. Here's what we know, Greg. DC United, they need a win to stay in the playoff race, but after that, it gets pretty murky.
Yeah, it does. If Portland get a win, then Chicago and DC are both eliminated. If this game ends in a draw, then DC United are also eliminated, although Chicago will stay alive. Two teams coming into this one not really in good form. DC, losers of 4 in a row, although they're at home again. That obviously has a factor in this. Portland, they had a good chance against Houston at home, and they weren't able to do it. Now they have to go on the road for their last 2 games. They've only won twice all season long on the road. So two teams that are struggling. Can one of them get a result in this one?
And no injuries in this game, no suspension, so You're going to see the best that both coaches have to offer. Again, that game's on Matchday Live, and want to mention that you can catch all the games this weekend that are on Matchday Live, the majority of the games in the last weekend of the season, for just $3.99 this weekend. You can log on to MLSsoccer.com for more details there. Let's switch gears a little bit to the CONCACAF Champions League, where Toronto FC, Greg, I think a team that a lot of people had left for dead recently in this tournament, they're advancing to the quarterfinals, their first quarterfinal berth in franchise history. A big win over FC Dallas on Tuesday night.
Amazing. 3-0 at Pizza Hut Park. They go down. Joao Plato was everywhere. He got 2 goals, and he set up the first one for Danny Couvermans. And this is a Toronto team that, although they didn't make the playoffs, although they struggled in the standings, if you look at the full season, the second half of the season, Toronto have been one of the best teams in MLS in terms of their performances. The results haven't always been there, but they've looked very good. Torsten Frings has really solidified that midfield. And for me, De Guzman has picked up his game once Frings got there. Now Toronto, they're into the knockout rounds, into the quarterfinals of Champions League. You're going to give Aaron Winter another offseason, another draft, another transfer window in January to bring in some more players. What can he do to build a team that will compete in CCL next year and also in MLS? Look, on the other side, though, Dallas have to be very disappointed to drop this at home and not advance, because I think they were really looking forward to seeing what they could do going forward in CCL.
You look back at FC Dallas, actually a win against Pumas down in Mexico. I think at that point, a lot of people expected FC Dallas to reach the quarterfinals fairly easily, but Schellas Hyman's team eliminated one team that is going to reach the quarterfinals. We know that's the Seattle Sounders, despite a loss to Monterey on Tuesday night. Again, they're going to the quarterfinals. They wanted to go as the top seed, but they're going to go as the second seed in this one.
Yeah, and you know what? They lose 2-1 at CenturyLink, and I think coming off of that big game with Casey Keller's tribute back at home, and you know what? They played some of their second stringers or reserve players in this one. Brian Meredith got his first start for Seattle in goal, and you know, kind of a little bit of a struggle on the first goal for Monterey. But you know what? Ultimately, it didn't matter. They're through, and they just go as second as opposed to first. It doesn't matter for Seattle. I think all they wanted to do was make sure that they got through.
One last MLS team in action in the CONCACAF Champions League on Wednesday night, and that's the Colorado Rapids. They're down in Mexico at Santos Laguna, 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox Soccer. A big one for the Rapids, Greg. We knew recently, I think everybody thought they were out. Right. They've sort of salvaged this tournament for themselves, but now they have a tough challenge down at Santos.
They do, and you know, you think back to that game that they went down to El Salvador, and they took their reserves, and Gary Smith didn't even go, and he took a lot of heat for that. At the same time, they got a 3-1 win, so he got the result. At some point, you have to come out of that and say, Gary Smith knew what he was doing in that situation to send his reserves. Forget all this stuff about respect for competition, because Colorado, they're now playing very well in MLS. They have a chance to catch up, and you know, they're going to be in the wild card for sure. They're going to most likely have a home game in that wild card game in the playoffs. You look at the other side, though, in CCL, they've resurrected their whole campaign. Yeah. They now are feeling confident. Omar Cummings is back and playing well. They've got everybody ready to go. Can they get the result in Mexico? That's going to be the real question. Obviously, regardless of the wins that MLS teams have gotten so far in this CCL tournament, it's still tough to win down in Mexico. If Colorado can do it, though, it also, I think, sets them up for a great run into the playoffs.
This has been a surprisingly tough group that they've been in. Isidro Metzopan and Real España still in it as well. They'll go at it on Thursday night to try and lock down a berth there. That does it for us, but we also wanted to mention the latest edition of Tito Libre is up, the Spanish-language podcast on Football MLS. They had Juan Agudelo as well as Diego Chara from the Portland Timbers. Obviously, a lot at stake for him. And one last thing, El Jimador is still trying to get you a free trip to the MLS Cup on November 20th out at the Home Depot Expo Center in Carson, California. Just log on to facebook.com/El Jimador, click on the Your Rules, Your Shot tab, and come up with your rule for the 100% real soccer fan. Greg, your rule for the day?
My rule for the day is this one. Make sure you watch DC Portland because it's going to have ramifications for a lot of the other clubs and what's going to happen. And then also make sure you're watching the New York game tomorrow because that too, considering they're playing Philly, lots of ramifications up and down the Eastern Conference.
One of the best weeks of the whole season here in MLS. You can find all the playoff standings and all the schedules for all the big important games on MLSsoccer.com.